Yo, I am live, and I actually remembered how to do it this time. Welcome to the Ending of the Podcast Live Part 2. I spent 40 minutes yesterday talking about the top 6 surprises in the league. Um, I'll try to keep it a little shorter this time around. Um, but goodness gracious, what we're going to try to do here is talk about the 6 most disappointing starts, I guess, for the 2019 MLB Pro season. Talk about the teams that we thought, either that we thought were going to be really, really good at leading the division, or just teams that we expected more out of. There's going to be teams that aren't necessarily somebody you thought were going to be contenders that I want to talk about because they're not where I thought they'd be, or not where their GM thought they'd be. No, the league thought they'd be. But yeah, it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be the sad podcast I'm going to do yesterday, which was the happy podcast and the exciting one, and talk about all the teams that I don't know that have gotten off to a better start than we thought. Just a quick recap, in case you were keeping score of the teams I talked about yesterday. The Red Sox lost. We talked a lot about the Red Sox. The Tigers won somehow, 9-8, moved above that 500 mark, which is great. And the Astros lost their third in a row. So the Red Sox and the Astros have both lost multiple games. The Marlins lost, who's a team we talked about. The Cardinals won 8-2 over the last 10. Congrats to their Cards. And the Rockies won, again, lengthening their lead in the National League West, moving to 13-6. So, mixed success day after we talked about the podcast. Let's see what we can do as far as some juju for some of the teams we discussed today. So there's a couple folks around. If you are around, if you got questions, if you want to talk about something beyond what I'm going to talk about, or if you got comments on what we're talking about as we talk about them, please hit me up in the chat here. I'd love to be a little more interactive than I have been in the past. I know that not everyone's watching live, but it does sound like maybe Eddie and Sam are around. I do see some other people in the chat. Again, Hodges is here. I think he's just here late night. Not here. We are going to talk White Sox a little bit. Hopefully he does show up for that. I see Brett back. Brett's my guy. Brett's always around. I don't know if he's actually watching or not. It doesn't look like anybody is. But if you are, like I said, let me know. Let's interact. Let's talk about some stuff, right? So let's jump into this thing. We started in the American League yesterday. Let's start in the National League today. And I want to start back in the National League West at the bottom of this division with the San Diego Padres, a team that I think maybe I've been highest on over anybody over the last couple of years. Nobody else seems to be buying onto the hype, maybe leadership included, of the Padres. But I've been a big fan of what this team's got to offer, and I've been hyping these guys up as a potential sleeper candidate for years. I think what Sean Morgan has built out here is impressive. I think he's got a good staff. I think he's got a good offense. They finished 4th, 2nd, 3rd over the last couple of years. Every year, well, the last 2 years at least, bordering on 90 wins. 88 wins in 2017, 86 in 2018. Great ERA out in San Diego. It's a big park, obviously. Their payroll took a huge jump in 2018 from that looked like the highest payroll they'd ever had was $74 million. That was in 2017, so they more than doubled it. This is interesting to look at. They more than doubled their payroll from 2016 to 2017. They doubled it from $32 million to $75 million. In 2017 and 2018, they then went up to $103 million. They went up $30 million again. So the Padres have decided we're coming out swinging and we're making a run here. And honestly, I like that. And I think this is a team that's underperformed if you look at what's going on here. Michael Matuella has hit a small snag. He's got a knee bruise. He'll be out for a little bit, but he's been struggling to this point. He's rocking a 3.21 batting average on balls in play, which is, not exactly monstrous, but it's probably not what you want to be for a top end starter like Matuella. He's walking a lot of batters. He's walking with 4 batters per 9 innings. With a 4.660 ERA for the guy like him, you can't have this guy. He's gone up. 2017 was his best year. He had a 2.42 ERA, went to a 3.52 last year. Again, his walks went up, strikeouts went up, which was good. But everything else, he was not really stepping in the right direction. So, the question, Brett, I don't know. Not related to what I'm talking about, but we can definitely get into that later. So, you can kind of go top to bottom with this staff. Mozzarella obviously is my biggest concern, but Broderick Wilson's also been very bad. His batter's not to play. He's just been bad. I mean, he hasn't walked almost anyone. 4 walks across 4 games starting. He's just getting hit hard. 22 hits allowed, 3 home runs, 15 runs knocked in. That's just not going to get it done. The guy that's supposed to be the anchor of this rotation, him and Matthew Weller are supposed to be the one too. Now, Steven Matz has been surprisingly good. Now, something I expected a lot out of here in his 3rd year in San Diego. But here he comes out of the bullpen, or excuse me, out of the gate very quickly. He's been fine all year. And Jake Odorizzi, another starter who you weren't really expecting a lot out of. But in his 3rd year here in San Diego, off to a decent start. Again, it's just one of these things where the Padres defense is so good, best in the National League right now. For the starters to be as bad as they are, and we will get to the bullpen after this because they're atrocious. If the starters to be off the kind of start they're off to, can't happen if San Diego wants to compete in this division, especially not after we talked about yesterday with the offenses of Colorado, San Francisco, and LA being the top 3 offenses in the National League. If you're going to compete in this division, you have to stop people, and the Padres have not been able to stop anyone. On top of that, their offense hasn't been great. You don't really expect it to be great, but you don't expect 2 guys hitting under 3 guys hitting under 200 to be in the starting rotation or starting lineup for a team like this. Taylor Lindsay, again, a guy you don't really expect to set the world on fire. The guy hit 300 and a cup of coffee in the major leagues last year, batting abysmal 153. Darby Jam is maybe proving that he was called up too early. Now, his last season in AAA, he did great in AA, he did great in AAA in 2018. I'm thinking maybe he made that jump a little early. I would not be surprised to see Jerem go down because he is just getting overwhelmed right now. I should have been 5 runs somehow. He's hitting under 100. And then you got Steven Rodriguez, who again, up and down this Padres roster, they're nothing special. And maybe I am still remembering a team from the Padres from a couple of years ago before they made those trades with, I think they sent a couple of their guys out to Toronto for some prospects. Maybe we're expecting too much out of the Padres, but for me, this was surprising to me when I looked at the standings here the other day when I was trying to find out my 3 most disappointing teams. So, when you look at the top of the division here with the Rockies, the Giants, and the Dodgers, do I expect San Diego to compete this year? No, I don't. Do I expect San Diego to compete in 2 or 3 years? No, I honestly don't. If you look at this division, because I think Colorado's got enough young talent to stick around. The Giants are a little older, but I think they'll make do. I think they'll probably deal off a couple of these guys, get some specs and rebuild here in a couple of years. But the Diamondbacks, are going to be knocking down the door here in a couple of years with some of these prospects. So I think if you're looking at this honestly, I think Sean may have missed his window. I think the Padres' window was last year. I think we're looking at a team that, again, as much as I hate to say it, I think I'm going back on my original assessment at the start of this breakdown here. I think the Padres missed their window. And I think when I look at this, it kills me to say because I love the Padres, but I don't think they're going to be much of anything here. Yeah, Sam, my Dodgers insider confirming that Manuel Reyes, I forgot to count Stanton, Giancarlo Stanton, and Robert Liriano were all dealt by the Padres this offseason. So I think maybe Sam or Sean kind of came to the same realization that I'm coming to right now, way late to the game, obviously. That they weren't going to compete in this division, and they tried to sell some pieces off. So I'll have to go into the Padres farm system, dig around a little bit more later, and see if they've got something in the cupboard to really make a run here in a couple of years. But they scare me where they are right now. I just don't know that they're going to be able to make a run anytime soon. So Padres fans, stick it out. Don't give up on what's going on now, man. But I don't know. I don't know what I see out of here that I'm really happy about. Let's move over to the American League. And you know what? We'll go West and West. And the West is an interesting one because I don't really think there's a disappointing team in this league. I think if you look at top to bottom in the American League West, I think everybody here is probably pretty happy with who they are. The Angels excluded. But even at 8-11, that's not a terrible start for a team that nobody's really been expecting a lot out of. Like I said a couple times, I do really like the Oakland A's team. I like their rotation. I like their offense. I think they can compete here. they're going to need some breaks, obviously, and now they've dug themselves a hole being 7.5 back of Seattle. We're only 3.5 back of LA, which is impressive. But, Oakland's not the team I want to talk about. I actually want to talk about the Angels, the team in second place. Now, this conversation would have been much more pertinent a couple of days ago when I actually wrote the story up, but I went too long yesterday. And the Angels are a team. I agree, Sam. I just looked kind of briefly through what they got back. And they do have some interesting pieces. Again, I don't think enough to compete with the Diamondbacks. I still don't think they're going to compete with the Rockies. Even your Dodgers, I don't know that they're going to compete with the Dodgers long term. Again, the Giants, I think if you're looking at a team to fall out of this race, I think the Giants are the ones to fall back. I think you're going to look here, maybe in 2 years, you're going to see Padres bottom, Giants right above them. Maybe even Giants bottom, depending on how they can retool here. But Giants at the bottom, Padres right above that. There's going to be a three-way fight here between the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers, and the Rockies. The NL West is going to be an interesting division going forward, which, we've talked about ad nauseum historically has been a bad division. So it's good to see them making a push here. As an NL guy myself, I love to see the National League making any kind of move. So here's the thing, right? We're going to talk about the Angels, and we'll kind of get into why I picked them as a disappointing start. For some of the other teams we're going to talk about today, they've fucking taken 11-7 start in a heartbeat. But they won 3 in a row. So they were at one point sitting at 8-7, and for an Angels team coming off a World Series victory, coming off of 4 consecutive first place finishes, 3 out of the last 4, they've won the championship. Another team has taken a massive jump in payroll. I thought 8-7 was unacceptable. Now, Matt Eisenberg, leader of the Players Union, GM of the Angels. Excuse me, I'm drinking fancy beer that my neighbor left over here the other day. Hopefully that's fancier, else I'm going to look like a shithead. Matt is a historically patient individual. The man does not overanalyze things, does not panic, despite his rabid involvement with the league. So you don't really expect the Angels to pull any massive triggers. But when you look up and down this lineup, which I did for quite a bit, it's interesting to see where this team's headed, right? They've been a team that hasn't had a lot of holes. When you look at this thing, Charles Cutler, talented as ever. He's 33 years old and he's a catcher. Albert Pujols has been efficient as hell. 40 years old and he's making $30 million. Daniel Paolini, very talented young man, has been great at second base for years for the Angels, 29 years old. So when I started looking at some of these guys, now they definitely got some youth, obviously, but Jimbo Boone has been kind of on the downslide from, a consistency standpoint. Again, he's getting up there. He'll be 29 this year. Masahiro Oyahashi. Wow, almost got it. He'll be 29 this year. Took a step back last year in terms of average, struck out a ton. We'll see. Does this team age well here over the next couple of years? Ryan Copeland, Kevin Gausman, Jordan Lyles, Brandon Morrow are all kind of getting older. Funkhauser being the real main young pitcher for this team. I don't know. This is one of those teams that, look, do I expect the Angels to fall apart? No. But I looked at their lineup, and I looked at their record at 8-7. I said, that is intriguing to me. Again, they've ripped off 3 straight wins. And they seem to be riding the ship here. Their offense is spectacular. They scored 100 runs already through 18 games. First in average, second in OBP, third in home runs, second in stolen bases. Their pitching and defense is what scared the shit out of me. 13th in the ERA, 11th in starters, 12th in bullpen, 8th in defensive efficiency. They can outslug the league plus. But they are coming away from Texas, where they've scored 20 runs in the last 2 games. And they get a 4-game stretch against Seattle, the best team in baseball by a very wide margin at the moment. A 4-game stretch against the Yankees, both at home, so 8 straight games at home. And then they go to Kansas City and get Toronto. Now, presumably, In 2 weeks, Toronto will have righted the ship, which you don't know, right? They don't really get a break until, well, what I thought was going to be a break until they played Detroit. Now, Detroit's played good baseball here next month. But I mean, this lineup, the American League scheduling doesn't offer you a lot of moments to take breaks and make mistakes and hit little slumps. And the Angels are a team. Should they suffer from injuries, I don't know if the depth is there to take this crown down. Now, let me phrase what I'm saying here in the appropriate context. They are not going to miss the playoffs. The Angels will be in the postseason again. Is this the year Seattle takes the division back? Maybe. Wouldn't that just be some shit for some unlucky American League team that has to play the fucking Angels coming out of the wild card range? Give me a break. Anyway, it's something to watch. I think this may be the year we see Seattle rise up and take this division back and watch the Angels get into a one-game playoff with a talented American League team in a wild card game. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. Who do you turn to? Copeland historically, right? Copeland's been their guy. He doesn't instill massive amounts of confidence in me that he is going to be the guy to win you a game. Now, he was the World Series MVP last year. He dominated the American National League for sure. He's incredibly talented. I don't know if he's the guy that I want with my season on the line, especially when you think about the fact that he could be going up against somebody like a Justin Verlander, like a Michael Pineda, like a Raynel Vanette. Let's not coming back this year, but goddamn, when he does. I think about the fact that he could be going up against, just pick somebody, right? Like, let's say the Yankees, who have now battled back into first place, maybe. Okay, now you got Nathan Eovaldi. Okay? Say Baltimore battles out of whatever the hell they're doing. Steve White, Steve White doesn't scare you, but Brady Aiken might. So, again, the Angels are looking at a situation where they could very well miss the division and end up in a one-game playoff, and who knows what happens from that. I've spent way too much time talking about a team that we all know is going to be coming around. Actually, I'm doing pretty good. 17 minutes to 3 teams. So, we talked Padres, we talked Angels. Let's jump back to the National League. Let's talk about the team. Let's move right up the line into the Central here that I wanted to talk about. That is my disappointment so far. I think there's two, really, the big ones in the National League that are disappointments. And this one's the Milwaukee Brewers, right? You could have gone with the Reds here because the Reds have a case to be considering a 10-7 start, 5-5 of the last 10. Disappointing, but I think the Brewers are the bigger bummer here. They're a team that we're just waiting to do something with that. I wrote an article earlier this year begging them to not waste the years of Esteban Hernandez, not waste the years of Jose Gonzalez, not waste, this ridiculous outfield that they've got. Juan Sanchez is hitting 380 right now. Don't waste this team. And they might be doing it. They've won plenty of games, 90 wins, 85 wins, 81 wins. They've got 2 division titles out of it. They haven't done shit in the playoffs with it. And this is a team that's off to a bad start. Despite Shelby Miller hitting the gates, coming out of the gates fast, right? Shelby Miller's been great. And so this is a group of guys that I'm looking at, and I'm just wondering, how does this happen? Where does this turnaround come from? The obvious answer is the offense, right? The answer comes from Esteban Hernandez. It comes from Brett Lowry, Brian Braun, Jose Gonzalez, Hank Conger. That 1 through 5 is as good as anybody can ask for. But they're kind of hitting okay right now. Now, Hernandez is not a 278 guy. He'll knock that up. He'll hit some more home runs. Lowry's not a 266 guy. He'll knock that up. Brian Braun's not a 243 guy. Louis is going to spend some time learning first base, which I think is an interesting experiment to watch as he gets a little older. They want to keep his bat in the rotation here, or in the lineup, excuse me. Jose Gonzalez is hitting the average of only 1 home run so far. This is a team that I think I don't know what to think, honestly. This is one of those teams that I'm so torn on because I think the Cardinals have proven that they're the group here, right? We've gone over that enough, I think, to this point. The Reds are nothing to forget about. We do, as a group, consistently forget about them. But they're a good team, a very good team, very good young team. That Chris Sale will come back at some point through the season and join this rotation, and if they can stay close, which it looks like they can, again, scoring a lot of runs, getting on base, hitting home runs, stealing bases. This Billy Hamilton, how is Billy Hamilton hitting 326? I don't know. Guess what? 79 bases last year. I guess he's just really fast. He's just beating out the ball. I don't know, man. You know, the Reds do things with players that I don't know how is David Chester viable major league? I don't know how some of these guys are viable. But man, does Scott get the best out of some of the guys on his team. Props to the coaching staff and the management for the Reds. But, you know, if you go back to looking at the Brewers, it's their pitching. It's the pitching again. Shelby Miller's going to be fine. He'll be a 2 ERA guy, but he's going to be fine all year. I mean, he goes out 8 months. He's gone for the year. Ian Kennedy's gone for a little while, and that's probably not the worst thing that's ever happened to anybody. You know, Willie Peralta is your number 2. What does that say about your team? I mean, is Willie Peralta the guy you want as the number 2 pitcher on your rotation here? I don't think so. So, you know, if I'm Milwaukee, how go get somebody. Go get a pitcher. There's pitchers everywhere. You can go get them wherever you want them, and that's an exaggeration, but you know, you can go out and go to some of these teams at the bottom of the National League, the guys that aren't going to compete. You know, go to, I hate to shit on the Padres, but go to the Padres, get one of these guys, Wilson, Matuella, Matz. I mean, go get somebody. Go to the Nationals, a team that, as much as I'd love to watch them win, I don't think it's going to be viable. Go get Miguel Pineda. What's Miguel Pineda doing in Washington right now? Go get Miguel Pineda. You got the pieces. Go get them. Go make something happen. Go to the Rays. Again, a good team, but you know Lucas Giolito's just wasting away down there. Now, I think if you talk to John Hines, he has something to say about that because he's equipped in Strasburg back here in a couple of days, I imagine, a couple of starts. Now, Giolito, Strasburg at the top of that rotation is terrifying, and then if the offense can hit a little bit, which they can't, the Rays may turn into something, but you know that's a different conversation. Go to Chicago. Chicago's in a perennial rebuild. You hate to see it, but go get somebody from this team. I don't know. I'd like to see the Brewers do something here. I really like their offense, and if they're not going to trade a guy like Esteban Hernandez, which they're not going to trade a guy like Jose Gonzalez, which they're not. I'd love to see them go out and get some pitching and make a run at this thing because that division, as great as I do think the Cardinals can be, it was proved last year that you can go out and win this thing. They did it with a 500 record. So I'd like to see them make a run at this thing again. I'd like to see them get them pitching and be a real threat in the National League. Sorry, that whole thing just spurred a trade idea for me to write about for next week, so I had to make sure I kept some notes. All right, let's jump back to the American League for our final. And, you know, this is going to be kind of a split thing because I think I'm changing my direction. I was going to talk about the Toronto Blue Jays. Again, a team that has kind of righted the ship. They're 9-9, so you gotta think about, you know, I guess some of these fucking injuries. Look at this list. Michael Pineda, Reyno Gillette. Now, he was hurt when they got him. Not this hurt, though. He did get back up. Shane Farrell, Nick Pickett, Jeremy Hendricks, Drew Pomeranz. And these poor guys, they're throwing they're just throwing shit at the wall and seeing the sticks. And you cannot say the same about the Blue Jays that you said about the Brewers. The Blue Jays have not been sitting back on their haunches and looking for nothing. They are out there aggressively searching out a starter. They've got 2 guys in AAA that they are thinking about. I have to assume they're trying with calling out Cody McCuck, whatever, and Kevin Nicholas. I think I saw a rumor the other day that Nicholas is about to get the call up. He's pitched great in a couple of starts down at AAA. So they don't necessarily have to look outside to find pitching, but Toronto's another team that, like, you can't sit by and not pitch because with this lineup here, Harper, Stanton, Don Winston, Mike Franco, Sullivan, Hampton, Brantley, Yanez, every single one of those guys can hit. Every single one. Franco and Sullivan are not going to look like this the entire year. These guys can play, and the Blue Jays are a team that they're going to compete. Now, I don't think anybody saw the Red Sox being as viable as they are to this point. The Yankees, I get. The Yankees are going to be inconsistent, I think, throughout the year, but they're fun to watch. They're going to beat some teams up. I don't know if they have enough in them to make the playoffs, but they're going to be interesting all year long. The Rays, like we talked about, are going to get better. They're going to get harder to pitch to, right? They're going to be, a hit off of it because their pitching staff is going to continue to improve. So I think that this is a team, the Blue Jays, and this is a short one because we don't need to talk about them because they actually have shifted. They have kind of righted the ship. That if you can go get some pitching and ride this out, Pineda's coming back next year, Villette's coming back next year, Pomeranz is coming back towards the end of this year. So you don't need to go get like a real full-on solution, but don't rush out McCusker and Nicholas if they're not ready. You do have guys like Mize coming up. I mean, go get something. Go get a guy an older guy. Who's that? Where did he end up? He's an older pitcher. I can't remember where he went. Madison Bumgarner. Go get, go to somebody like the Giants, who I think may let a guy like, I don't think they're going to let Jordan Zimmerman go, but they might, again, depending on what you're willing to give up. He's an older guy that could fill in for a couple of years. Zach Greinke just signed a long-term deal. I think if we're not going to go. And then these are going to come cheap. But you're Toronto. I mean, Toronto makes shit happen. I never thought would happen. They pulled off a Bryce Harper trade, at some point in this career. They brought in a big name. Go get a pitcher. Toronto, I'm telling you, go get a pitcher. Be relevant. That's the end of my short little speech there on the Toronto Blue Jays. The team I really want to talk about in the American League East is the Baltimore Orioles because I can't make heads or tails of what's going on there. See, won 100 games last year. Still don't know that I buy why they won 100 games last year, but at 8-10 and fourth place in the division. Now, granted, it's just a game out of 500 because there's 4 people sitting there at the top. I have questions about how viable this team's going to be. It looks to me that they are going with like that whole opener mentality again. Loading up their bullpen with guys that are talented and then just trying to get their starters to go a couple innings and then throw the pen out there. But the pen's been a disaster. They're ranked 13th in the American League. So that's where this problem comes from. They've scored runs. Their offense has been great. Despite Cam Gallagher and Andres Morales there in the middle of this rotation, and throw Rizzo and Knicks in the middle of this lineup, not doing anything. And from an average perspective, they've hit 8 home runs collectively, driven in 24 RBIs. That's not bad for the middle of the lineup, but they're not getting off base. The Orioles are a team that I admittedly have never understood what they're doing and how they're doing it. I don't know why Steve White is a functional member of this lineup or this rotation, but he is. And this is a team that I don't know if I think will turn around or not because I don't know enough about them. I guess I overcomplicate it when I look at the Baltimore Orioles. That's what I've had a couple of conversations with Andy, the GM, and that's even told me specifically a couple different times that I overthink what he does. It's just putting good players on the field. But to me, I don't see good players. I mean, Travis Jankowski is the guy to me that sticks out as like his best player. He's not even somebody that I'm like dying to see in a Braves uniform. He's just a good ball player. So, when I look at this team, I'm just constantly confused. I can go out on a limb and comment and say this team's not going to win 100 games again this year. 80s, 90s, and I could see it, but this division is going to cannibalize itself a little bit, I think. I think the Orioles are one of these teams that is in danger of ending up one of those wild card spots and matching up with a team like the Angels. And in the American League, it's not what you want. Now, we did discuss how the Angels are going to be vulnerable in a one-game setting. If you can throw some good numbers out there, and Andy can manipulate a bullpen and a starting lineup to do what he wants for a single game. I think if you give me a single game matchup of managers, you put Andy versus Matt head to head. I think that's one of the most interesting things I could ask to see from a head to head perspective, manager to manager. Now, there's other people that are more colorful. Maybe you can say what you want about the Indians Twins rivalry. That's devolved into some childish name calling and things like that to this point. But I think from a pure analytical, statistical, strategical perspective, whatever, That's one of the ones I like to watch. I'd love to see. Now, look, I'm getting way ahead of myself, but I'm calling Orioles, Angels, in a wild card game for the ages. Fuck it, I'm calling Orioles on top. So I guess that answers my own question. Do I think the Orioles pull out of this? Yes, I do. I think the Orioles pull out of this kind of weird funk they're in. I think they'll figure this thing out. If the offense can stay a little consistent, I don't think they'll be a top 5 offense all year, but I think if that offense stays somewhere between that 5 to 10 range, and they figure out their bullpen and these pitchers, Brady Aiken's not going to be as bad as he is. Marcus Stroman's been a killer, by the way, just as a quick aside. But Brady Aiken's going to figure this thing out, and he'll kind of get himself back on solid ground here. I think then you're looking at a real Rafael Luna. Why? You're looking at a real situation where you can have some talent here. I think you'll start to see it. Moving to our final team of the evening, and look at that, guys. I'm at 30 minutes. I was at 40 minutes yesterday. I will try to keep this as brief as possible. My last disappointing team in the National League, from groups in the NL East, is the Atlanta Braves. And again, a team that's on a slight winning streak. It's not been really impressive. If you want to look at the winning streak that they're on, they've only won 2 games, but they can at least at 8-9, 2.5 games back of the New York Mets for first place in the National League. And this is coming off, again, a World Series performance. Now, is there something to be said for a World Series hangover, as both the Angels and Braves do seem to struggle a little bit? Maybe. But it's a team that, I don't understand why this team is where it is. They had a first place finish in 2016, a second place finish in 2017, and a first place finish in 2018 when they went to the World Series and got swept by the Angels. And granted, it's a team that is unique, I guess, in the way that if I look at a lot of these teams that we talked about today, kind of on the top end and the bottom end, a lot of the teams we talked about have been increasing payroll. Well, Atlanta took a step back, actually. 2016 to 2017, it's a massive jump up, but $32 million increase in payroll. But in 2017 to 2018, they actually dropped $10 million. Their attendance rose, their performance got better. Again, they finished in first place in the division. They had a great year. The payroll dropped $10 million. And this year, I don't know how to project this out. I guess if we're talking about being a 10th of the way through the season, we're looking at $100 million this year. So they did make a huge jump, in payroll this year. A lot of that came with some of these younger guys hitting arbitration, Appel, Bauer, Cabanas. A lot of these guys finally hit arbitration and are making in that double-digit area. So this is the year I think that Atlanta kind of has to make a decision here. I don't see them signing a lot of these young guys that are on arbitration to long-term contracts. I don't know that the front office is savvy enough to negotiate those waters. So I think you're going to see some of these guys get dealt. And this is the kind of start that leads to the Atlanta front office being panicked and making rash decisions. Obviously, Armando Cabanas has been the discussion, trade rumors throughout the year. He's hit all over the lineup so far. He's hit first, second, third, fourth, seventh. He's been everywhere. And so I think some of that inconsistency coupled with the trade talks has led to this slower start for him. 271, 1 home run, 5 RBIs right now for the guy that was an MVP candidate for the last 3 years. That's not going to do it. Guillaume Barnum and Jose Rosario hitting behind him have not really done it. I mean, this Braves offense has been bad. They're tied for 8th in the National League. That's not where you want to be as an offense. The National League is not known for its offense. So if you're in the bottom half of the rankings here, you're not in a good place, right? Literally everything all across the board. And here's the interesting thing. 2 things that carry Atlanta to where they finished last year: defense efficiency, stolen bases. And guess where they're ranked in both of these things? 9th in stolen bases, 14th in defensive efficiency, right? They replaced guys like Eric Lee, Miguel Rojas. They're strong defensive players. They're not great offensive ones. With somebody like Jose Rosario, who has very limited at second base, which is a big problem for them. Chad Scott, who the guy they went out and got for his offensive capabilities, hitting 212, hitting the 8th spot in their lineup right now. And again, he's okay, but he's not great at shortstop. So when I look at this team, I don't know where I see this future going. I don't know that I look at Atlanta, who, by the way, was projected by a couple of outlets this year to finish dead last in this division, which I laughed at the time, but it's looking more reasonable now. John Payek is hitting at the top of the lineup. I just don't know where I see this team going, because the moves they made in this offseason seem less calculated than typical. And I don't know that they are in a place to win. Now, here's the thing. If they can turn it around, which they can, maybe they can, I don't know. If they can't turn it around, they've got the pieces to do a quick overhaul, right? Armando Cabana should set you a very, very big return. A guy like Jose Rosario should bring in some pieces. If a Pelham Bauer get dealt, again, they should bring in some massive pieces to come back. Looking guys like Tyler Hill, again, it's a crazy conversation to have because blowing up the team that went to the World Series last year, retained basically its entire team, switch out a couple minor pieces and has a tough start is a weird thing to talk about a total teardown. But I look at this team and I'm concerned as a Braves fan personally, and from somebody who wants to see the National League finally make a run at this thing. I don't know that I look at this team and think, yeah, they could beat an American League team like the Angels or the Mariners in a 4-game series, a 6-game series, a 7-game series, because behind Helen Bauer, I like Pill, I like Kelly. Cadet's off to another great start. I don't know, man. I just don't know that these guys have the depth. Their bullpen's a massive concern, which was no secret going into this thing. I did deal Dennis Moore. I know the guy had struggles last year, but bump him into a setup spot. I think of Zach and LeBron out there. Zach's been terrible. Keith Bell got something like nope. Anyway, we can go on like this for hours. The Braves concern me. It's hitting at 8 and 9. Honestly, what concerns me most is management. I think they're liable to pull the trigger on some crazy bullshit early on to try to shake it up. I've seen him do it in the past with the Bryce Harper trade. Now, that one worked out okay. They actually ended up fine. But, I think about the fact that a team could deal Bryce Harper and Armando Cabanas in a 5-year period, and then the GM keeps his job. I'm concerned there because it's 2 generational talents in the corner outfield that, I don't know. We talked about the Keon Barnum acquisition last night. So if you want to look at it up and down, guys, those are my 6 teams that I'm a little bit concerned about. We got in the National League, the Braves, Brewers, the Padres. On the American League, I kind of did a sequel, a little sneak peek at 4. Jays, O's, Angels, Sox. Of these teams, I do think the Angels will be fine. I think the Brewers will be fine if they can go get some pitching, mind you. I think the Jays and O's will be okay. I think the O's are probably going to edge out the Jays. The White Sox. Oh, the White Sox were the other team I wanted to talk about that I didn't get a chance to talk about. So, okay, really quickly, my apologies. I kind of started to end the show, and I'm going to finish up here. The White Sox are a team. And I think if you really look at this team objectively, they shouldn't compete, but it's a team that everybody roots for. Jonathan Hodges is a great guy. He's out here constantly optimistic about his team. Up and down, there's some talent here. Juan Francisco Miguel Leon, who's a guy that I just can't figure out because the guy Miguel Leon should be great. He's just getting worse, which is odd to me. But again, Luis Serrano, a guy who hit leadoff, he's one of those guys that Serrano will always stick out to me in this league. The guy that couldn't make a break because I think a couple of years ago the White Sox got to a great start and Luis Serrano went down and they couldn't recover. He was a huge part of that offense at the time. They couldn't come back from his absence. They just couldn't get on base. They stopped scoring runs. And they've never been the same. Honestly, he's never been the same. He's back again. We kind of hope that he's going to stay healthy. But when I look at this team up and down, I don't think they should be 4-12. But I never thought they were going to be a playoff contending team. I'd like their pitching staff: Bill Black, Coran, Boyd, Cody Pons. I like a lot of these guys here, and I like the offensive pieces. We just discussed a couple of them. So I still hold out hope that they're viable. I hold out hope that they can be better than they are, and maybe push the Indians and the Twins and the Detroit Tigers now to be relevant. But I don't think this is the year for the White Sox. I think they've still got a little bit of waiting time, and that will conclude the show. So if any of you stuck around for that entire thing, I appreciate it. I got long-winded again, just under 40 minutes. I almost looked at my time last time. That's the end of the Ending Live series on my top 5. Again, my top 6 surprises, my top 6 disappointments here at this point. If you're not comfortable giving, real feedback to me, send it to Anonymous DM. He'll throw it out there as kind of a suggestion box, essentially. If you are comfortable coming to me directly, which you should be, I've been in this league for 8 years now. You guys should all know me by this point. I want feedback. I want to produce this kind of content, but I need to know if it's actually enjoyable for y'all. Let me know. Let me know what went well. Let me know what didn't go well. What maybe I can do better. Let me know some topics. I did actually get some suggestions tonight. I didn't get a chance to get to. I will get into these suggestions in an article. So I do appreciate you sending them over. Making some really interesting points that were brought up. And I think there's some things that need to be talked about, but I don't want to go on forever. So thanks, guys. Hit me with some suggestions if you don't mind, so I can make this better and actually tolerable for those of you that don't think it is. And we'll see you out there. Thanks.